gather around the open bar. We got drinks on the house, raise a glass. Let's make some noise, ain't no time to be lost. Come on, everyone is welcome here. This is where the magic happens. Let off your fear. Straight talk, deep conversations. We're diving real deep, from politics to love stories. Secrets we'll surely keep, no judgment, just laughter and good vibes in the air. In this open bar paradise, we're crazy, love is there. Open bar nights, where memories are made. Unforgettable moments, where the walls will fade. Raise your glass high, let's toast to the stars. In this open bar, we'll feel a lot of stars.
Welcome, everybody. This is the first time we're doing open bar. What the hell is open bar? Open bar is going to be what we're going to do every Tuesday leading into kickbacks, which essentially are just us hanging out, talking about stuff. And it's an open platform for everybody to come in, hop in the conversation. We have the link in the chat if you want to hop on. Don't have to, and you don't need a camera either. But just if you want to get a part of the conversation. And today we're going to talk about how do you deal with feeling like a loser? Now, I was sharing with the guys behind the scenes that I kind of felt like a loser yesterday. And for those who don't know, I do high stakes gambling. And yesterday, I lost $11,000 in a single day. I laugh at it because it's nonsense. There's swings up and down and whatnot. But how do you even handle that? How do you bounce back from that and move yourself forward? And it's hard. You know, you have to be incredibly stoic with certain things like that. And most people can't even fathom losing that much in a single day or in a single session. But when you have your eye on the prize, when you have your eye on the goal and you stay the course, everything works itself out. But hey, without further ado, I want to bring everybody else up here. So we've got Mr. Kevin. How you doing, brother?
Doing great, man. How are you?
Doing absolutely fantastic. And then we've got Jaron from Gringo Guides.
Howdy.
Good to see you guys. So, all right. How do you deal with feeling like a loser? Now, Jaron, I want to come to you first because
I'm a loser.
Because you used to be incredibly overweight and you had to go through a huge transformational journey. And kind of the way that I put it is like, you know, how do you get to and break through your 30s? You know, most people think of 30 as like, if I haven't made it by 30, then I'm never going to make it. And I know you went through a lot of different transformational cycles and you're killing it now. So let me hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, you know what? I actually had a coaching client the other day, and this was one of the topics that came up. He's recently lost a sizable amount of weight to begin with that topic. And it really came down to reforming a new identity. And this is really tough a lot of times because in your head, you think like, okay, I'm the fit guy now. I'm going to get the gym membership. I'm going to start weightlifting daily. I'm going to clean up the diet. I'm going to take all these supplements. I'm going to do whatever it is else you do to your routine. And then a lot of people, they do too much too fast and then they kind of poop out. They hit a brick wall real fast because it takes your body a time to adapt to all the new stimuli and whatnot. But what really is hardest is once you do have that success is re-updating that internal firmware to where you realize, okay, I'm no longer this person. And when it comes to the fat type issues, I still have that challenge every now and then. I'll look in the mirror and every now and then I'll see a fat guy and then people will be like, dude, you're jacked. I have a visible six pack year round. I'm not fat. I recently went, it was my birthday last week. So I got a mini lipo. Why mini lipo? Because I didn't have any fat to remove, but I had a lot of extra skin. So I was like, all right, take whatever fat's left and then transfer it to try to form the shape a little better. I only had half a pound of fat to remove. That was it.
Lipo? Or did you get a BBL?
I got a BBL. Yep, Brazilian butt lift.
All right.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't see
So
the
so the
studies.
doctor, he's like,
Prefer
you don't have
natural.
any fat for me to take off. And I'm like, all right, well, take like the little there is, take it from here and put it here. And just that half pound, I'm already seeing results. And so for me in my head, it was like, I just saw obesity, but again, I have a visible 6-pack year round. So I think it's really about upgrading, again, that mental firmware is what I like to refer to it as, and re-updating your identity, which is really tough. The game topics too, and we talk about that. A lot of guys, they'll start getting results, but they still have the same internal voice that they had before they were getting the results. And I always tell my guys, your game is always ahead of you. All of a sudden, chicks will
Mhm.
stop flaking and then they'll show up. And then, especially when you get the fitness thing down right, you'll be walking around with your shirt off at a music festival, and chicks are just flashing their tops and pressing their bare tits against your chest. But in your head, you're still that fat guy. So I think that was a good example to bring up. It applies to money, it applies to game, it applies to your career, to your relationships. It applies to many areas of your life.
Absolutely. No, 100%. It's definitely it's that updated framework and like understanding that yeah, those problems still exist and whatever, but it's like how do you deal with them? So I really like that. That's a great way to put it. What about you, Kevin? Like what was your biggest thing that you had to like break through?
Well, as far as breakthrough, like to relate it to what you were talking about, I'm not a high stakes gambler, but I'm a high stakes bidder of government contracts. And I've only been doing that for a little over 3 years. And in the beginning, I was very much a people pleaser. I wanted to do everything right. And when a multi-million dollar contract didn't get picked up because of something I did, a mistake I made, I mean, it feel like a loser is an understatement. You feel like, the other 13 corporate people there, they're looking at you like it's all your fault. And it took me a long time to get over that. And one thing that helped immensely is the vice president that I worked directly for. He could see it in my attitude. He saw that I wasn't myself just because, we had one L. And he sat me down and he was a great support channel. He's like, man, I've been doing this for 15 years. You know how many fucking times I've done this? You know how many times I've messed up far more than you, and not even in the way I lost. They won a contract because he put a decimal in the wrong place and ended up losing $160,000 a year on that contract. So having a support group for taking those L's and then getting past my ego. My ego was really big for a long time, and thinking that I had to do everything right. And if I didn't do everything right, everybody was going to look at me. Everything that I did right or everything that I did win didn't matter at that point. They was only going to see what I did wrong. And having a support group and then learning to get out of my own head and to move on, that just because something didn't work out didn't make me a loser. I learned from it and moved on. That's the biggest lesson I've learned in myself, is to learn from it and move on, because you can't change it. You can glance back, but you can't go back. You can glance back every now and then, but you got to keep moving forward. That's the biggest message I learned for myself.
I think when it comes to that, you have to realize that you have to accept things for the way they are. So a lot of times, especially guys that are coming out of a divorce, we hear this a lot. And I ask my coaching clients, is it her that you're really in love with? Is it her you really miss? Or is it that fantasy that you created? And all of a sudden, when she walked away, that fantasy just shattered, and that in turn shattered your identity. So I always tell my guys that focus on things for what they are, not for what they should be. And I'm terrible at doing that sometimes, to where in my head I have a vision of how things should be. It will happen at some point. It will manifest, but you have to do the little things day to day, cut out the bad habits, and then fold in good habits. And then they have a compounding effect, but it's usually over a longer period of time. So again, that is accept things for the way they are, not for the way they should be. And I think that's what again, a lot of guys do the latter, and it really causes a lot of internal and mental strife for them.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's a great point. When you have that your certain rules set up and like you understand like what's going on, it is what it is. You can't go back, and you just have to keep moving forward. I mean, that's all you can do. All you can do is move forward. Past is the past, and what are we going to do next? And it doesn't matter how much you mess up. I mean, how like the very first time that I lost a lot of money gambling, that was probably the worst like 3 days of my life. And it just was because I just regretted so much. And I was like, why? But you see over time, like as you become more stoic and more resilient and you continue to evolve, that these things become lesser problems in the grand scheme of what life is going to become for you.
I also think too it's important to ask what is a loser and who defined that term for you. A lot of younger guys, that term is defined by their people, society at large, their family, maybe their interpersonal relationships or romantic relationships. But really, at the end of the day, who is a loser? And this is something I learned from a content creator with whom I was involved for years. Is um, it basically comes down to who would you want to trade places with? So like, let's say, for example, you're stuck in your mom's basement and you're not making much money, or maybe you don't have a car type yet, and your dating life's not left a lot to be desired. Well, okay, turn on the news real quick and see a lot of the stuff going on globally. There are millions, probably billions of people that would love to be exactly where you're at right now. Again, that's something I tell myself. This last week, I was kind of not bedridden necessarily, but limited movement. And I was getting antsy. I like to be out doing stuff. I'm like, oh my God. So those thoughts went through my head. What a loser. Oh my God. What are you doing down here in Mexico? Thinking of this international playboy that you're going to make all this money online. And, you could be at home doing da, da, da. But then I go home a few times a year, and within a day or two, I love seeing my family. But within a day or two, it's like, this place isn't for me. There's not much going on. I outgrew this place when I was 18. So, and people in my hometown will tell me, like, dude, you're the only person we know that's actually out there living your dreams. So yeah, on the day to day, maybe there's some down periods, but as long as you're moving forward, and even not necessarily forward in the day to day, you are going to have setbacks, but look at that longer time frame. Okay, are you better off now than you were a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? That answer is always yes. And so the things I'm doing today, if I have a crappy day, today I was back to back slammed with meetings. I would rather not be doing that. But in my head, it's like, okay, there's a vision of who I'm going to be. I'm 37 now. When I'm 50, when I'm 55, at the end of my life, a good activity, assuming that you're not in a dark place mentally, is to write your own obituary. What are the things you want to accomplish in life? And then start doing those things now. And again, you're going to have those setbacks. You're going to have days you're like, oh, I'm a no one. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing anything. Do I even matter? Those are all now. I have to learn how to redirect those thoughts into something like, hey, I'm exactly where I should be. Things are going to happen exactly as they are. Again, accept things for the way they are, not for the way they should be. And then I think that adds a lot of relief to, again, that internal dialogue that messes a lot of guys up.
That's a great point. I love what you said, like looking at where you
it's
were.
gratitude, really.
Yeah, and it's looking like where you were a year ago, 2 years ago, like as you were saying. And that's, I was having the conversation with my girlfriend. Like, I don't hide anything, so I shared with her what occurred yesterday. And I had explained to her, like, it's weird because when I first lost $6,000, it was like 3 days before I even felt okay. This time, it maybe was like an hour tops, because I know I can make the money again. And when I look at where I was then to where I am now with my career and everything else, hey, money's money. I can make it again. And when you look at that from that perspective, whatever's going on, whatever smaller trivial thing that isn't completely defining your life, like, you can really reframe everything and understand, okay, wait, I wouldn't even be in this situation a year ago. Like, this is a greater situation than I would have ever been in. And that's really cool to think about. So
and it's also cool. It's also cool to think about too. Okay, yeah, you had a loss yesterday, but compare that against the times you've had the wins. As long as the wins outweigh the losses, then you're usually okay. Like, I had a lean period income wise for the last 6 months or so, finally starting to trend in the right direction. But it's gonna take probably 3 to 6 months to get back to where I'm comfortable being. But there are things like, okay, so there, and of course, when you don't have a lot of income, there's unexpected expenses that come up. That's when it happens. And there's things that were pending, receivables forever, that all of a sudden I got my first paycheck posted with this new position I got. And then other checks start coming in. The state of California took a bunch of money out of my account years ago after I didn't even live there anymore. And I challenged that, and I got that reimbursed recently. Apparently there was an employer 10 years ago that ripped me off, didn't pay me all my wages. Some law firm took care of that. They sent me a letter, I think, when I went home for Christmas. I had to notarize it and send it off. Well, that check just came yesterday. So realize there are ups and downs, not only in finances, but just life in general. Just make sure that those, I always say in my situation that my lows now are higher than my high points 5 years ago, even.
That's a great way to put it. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. It truly is crazy. It truly is crazy that your low points now are still higher than you were in the past.
Yeah, sometimes we forget that. We forget where we came from. And that's part of that glancing back I talked about a minute ago. So if something hits you hard and you think things can't be better, yeah, imagine yourself 10 years ago, where you've come and where you've grown, and you weren't even able to take those losses back then that you're taking now. And so to think you're a loser just because of that, no, I'm going to say you're somewhat of a winner. But I want to revisit what I think you asked, Alex, what is a loser? I guess that's subjective to people in their mind. We talked about the guy in the mom's basement. We all run into hard times, but if you're not if you're comfortable with that life and you think that's what you're meant to be, yeah, to me, you're a loser. Might not be a loser to somebody else, but if you're not striving to get better, then yeah, maybe that's what somebody might define as a loser. But
I would think.
Now. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I would think, and I want to introduce Josh in a second here, but I would think that we ourselves kind of define what a loser is. Are you comfortable with what you're doing, or do you want more?
We talk about in the Men of Now, especially in the behind the paywall chats, about a failure. You don't fail until you quit. Once you quit, that's when you're a failure.
I think for most guys,
walk away. Now, especially don't apply that to everything. Now, if it's the relationship that's not working out and you feel like you can't quit, you're going to be a failure because you walk away because it's a toxic relationship. It's not going anywhere. Now, that's a different story. But if it's something that you really want, you can achieve, but it gets hard and you quit, at that point, you're a failure. But if you're still trying, you have not failed yet.
I think for me, the idea of a loser, and there's been times in my life where I realize on paper, everything's good. It's like, okay, I've got everything I've ever wanted, but the life I'm living now is a result of the things I did 2 or 3 years ago. Maybe in the last year, maybe I haven't made too much progress. So I think a lot of guys, and a couple of my really close personal friends and I always use this term, complacency. Like if you're not going anywhere, you're not doing anything. So yeah, you may be stuck in your mom's basement, but let's say your mom recently just fought and won cancer and you were caregiving for her and you were working 2 jobs on the side and you were scraping by, and then you got into a university program or a trade or in the military, and then you're preparing yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally in 90 days to ship out and open the next chapter of your life. I wouldn't consider you a loser in that point. But if you've been there for 30 years and then there's no desire to maybe move forward, for me, that's my definition. Again, for myself, it is subjective. That's where I'd say like, okay, I'm kind of slacking. I should probably get moving.
I kind of think of it like a stock chart. Like when you see like an upward chart, you always see the trend, like the up and then the down. Yeah, you see the trend. So there's gonna be crashes. Like for example, again, I stepped back into stock trading and I made like $900 or something on one of my calls last week, or puts. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I made money betting
You're
against
gambling.
the market. Exactly.
Yeah,
And so betting against the market, it was puts. So I did an option put on SPY, which is one of the larger ETFs, and I ended up making a bunch of money off of it, all because like just seeing all that type of stuff, but understanding that the market has corrections, and just like you have corrections, and those corrections are decided by you. You are the market. Think of yourself like the market. For anybody who does any type of stock trading, you are the market. So just because you're going down doesn't necessarily mean you have to go all the way down. You just bounce back up because you take that moment when you hit your down. What do I need to do next to be better? And then you go back up and you hit a higher high than you have ever hit before.
Yeah, that's a great analogy too, because when you talk about people that, especially if they're young to investing or new to investing, they see it go down. Oh, I lost. No, you didn't lose it. Just you're down. If you didn't sell it, you haven't lost anything. You're just down.
You don't lose till you're out of the market.
But if you sell, for less than what you bought it for, yeah, you've lost. But if you stay in the game, if you believe in that security, ETF, whatever it is, actually, you know what? Let's put more in it because now we're getting on sale, and then wait for it to come back up. But a lot of people get scared. They see that, a little bit in red. Oh, I'll better sell it right now and just get what I can out of it. And then, then now you've lost $1,000. But if you would put another $1,000 into it when it was down 1,000, then it goes back up to 3. You've made 6. People don't look at it like that. So when you're down, try harder. That's what I was getting at on that.
Yeah, no, but that's absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's the same thing when it comes to guys and dating. Like, they'll have a bunch of bad interactions in a row, and then they're like, this just isn't going to work for me. And so they give up. But there's no reason to give up, because if you just kept going, then you're just on a slight downward trend, and then you're going to get success and be even better than you were before.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to fail. No one's ever always successful. That's impossible. It's just not a part of the human experience. So I tell myself that too when I run into what I subjectively view as failures. Like, oh, it's a part of the experience. That's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
No,
100%.
A lot of guys take rejection as a personal hit on their ego and that kind of stuff. When you get out of that mindset, I was a book I just recently read. It said if you look at rejection as a gift, especially in the dating world, just because a girl says no, I have a boyfriend, or even if she's a bitch about it and says no, I can never date a guy as short as you, don't take that personal. Take that as she did you a favor because she let you know right then and there before you got 6 months into the thing, $2,000 in invested in that to not work out. So you look at it as a gift.
I much prefer that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you say, okay, well, it's worth the ask. Have a great day. Even if she's a bitch, tell her that'll really fuck her up.
And what really sucks is not knowing, especially guys that are newer to game. You see that cute girl walking down the street or something, you're thinking, oh, I should go talk to her. I should talk to her. Before you muster up the courage to do it, she's gone. She's a block away. She turned the corner. She met up with a boyfriend, got in the car or something. I would rather know definitively that there's no chance by making that shot and missing rather than walking away, kicking yourself a day or two later, because then it gets into deeper stuff like, oh my God, why didn't you approach that girl? Like, why do you have approach anxiety? You should be doing that. Better. You've had success in this area of your life before. All of those things come into your head rather than just a simple, oh yeah, no, I'm flattered, but I have a boyfriend. All right, cool. Yeah. Enjoy your day. Bye.
Yeah, and that's all it is.
That's gone.
It's not like she gets around the corner and is like, that fucking loser. Why did he even try?
It's not going to ruin her day. Yeah, girls do like getting hit on.
Feel good about it. Hey, at least you tried. And then the next time you see her walking by the same thing, I bet she smiles and waves.
Yep.
You can smile way back.
Absolutely. Well, anyways, guys, this was a great initial discussion. For anybody who's not aware, Men of Now community, link below. If you need any additional information, go ahead and let me throw this up here. If you need to go ahead and message me on Instagram, and I'll be able to get you to join with us as we go along. This is going to be a really deep discussion. This was an initial, briefing type of thing, and then it goes behind the paywall. But hey, it was a great discussion to start, and I can't wait to see where this is going to go. So
it'll be a good one.
Thank you, guys.
Guys. Hey, hit any of us up on Instagram if you want to get in there for a trial call. We'll bring you on in, and you can see what it's all about.
Yeah, we have 7-day free trial. That doesn't cost you anything. So always reach out to us. But if you don't, hey, thanks for viewing. If you're new to the channel, please drop us a subscribe. We're new. We're just getting this started. Like, comment, let us know what you think.
Share with your friends.
Really appreciate it.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. See you guys on the other side.
Yep. Cheers.